when you guys contributed to an atmosphere in which the CPS was called on my house. When you specifically...
They were called on your house because you yourself said on your own live stream that your kid had contracted the parasite Giardia, and then you went on to say that you thought that it was from eating shit. That's why.
George joked about calling the CPS. When you specifically...
It wasn't a joke, Ethan. It was me all along, Ethan. It was me, Ethan. I called them. CPS would definitely take seriously a phone call from like a person on the other side of the world.
George.
He can't, it's so funny how he frames like a CPS visit like swatting still. Still. It's just like swatting. It's literally SWAT. It's the same. Like a bunch of like the SWAT team comes, guns drawn, and they like point the guns at your kid. That's what he wants his dumb teenage fans to believe. It's so fucking funny. Like it's a traumatic experience.
Suggested I was lying about the CPS coming to my house. When you...
Yeah, I still do suggest that because you've provided no evidence of it. And until extraordinary claims made with no evidence can be discarded out of hand, you've still provided nothing. Where's the paperwork? Where's like the video? You know, I'm pretty sure you have the right to record like your meeting with the CPS officer or take a picture of them or something. There's nothing. Where is that? Provide evidence for us.
George specifically propagated this whole thing by saying that my kids were crawling around and eating shit.
I didn't say that. You did.
Potentially eating shit. You opened it. You welcome to my world, baby. You know what I mean?
No one will ever be in your sad little world, Ethan. No matter how low I fall, I am always consoled by the fact that I will never fall that low.
Let's fucking get it, dude.
And there's literally nothing you can do. That's the great thing. I could say anything that I want about you, and you can't do anything about it, Ethan.
I've been in a lawsuit with Ryan Kavanagh now for like over 3 years, and I've spent...
Oh, yeah, we went over that. We went over that. You're going to... Listen.
Countless hundreds of thousands. To me, this is just fucking... This is just...
It's going to be a lot more than just hundreds of thousands. Try millions, Ethan. Try many millions. He's going to be docking your pay for centuries.
Just like my free time.
This is just my free time. Let's listen to that again. Live replay.
Countless hundreds of thousands. To me, this is just fucking... This is just like my free time.
This is your free time. This is your free time, Ethan. Ethan, your free time is like filing frivolous lawsuits because of YouTube arguments that you're too stupid to actually engage with on the facts and the evidence. Your free time, that's the saddest thing I have ever heard in my life. You don't have a hobby, you don't have interests, you don't have friends, you don't have like anything else to do. I mean, you have 3 kids, but evidently you're not the one who's taking care of them. Your free time is just thinking about your internet grudges with people who you have a hurt ego about because they refuted your videos and you couldn't actually deal with that. So you try and file frivolous lawsuits against them. That's your free time. You are not realizing how pathetic you sound. You think you sound like the fucking Joker or something. I mean, you do sound like a Joker, but you don't sound like the Joker. You sound like the saddest, most pathetic man in the entire world. You sound like you were on the fucking brink of just ending it, man. You need help. You don't need more frivolous slap lawsuits that are going to get fucking destroyed at the first attempt to even get through an anti-slap motion. You need desperate help. You have millions of dollars and this is your life. You could be traveling the world on luxury cruise ships without working a day ever again. And this is what you do instead. You sue like YouTubers and try to get your lawyer to write rebuttals of their videos for you. Like, this is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I want to show you the next part is very funny as well.
I don't know how you handle it. For me, this is just like, you know, this is a Sunday breeze, okay?
This is how you spend your Sundays, man. You should be spending them with your children, Ethan.
So yeah, we're gonna be working with Argentinian lawyers, investigators, police, and we are going to be basically exploring all.
He's going to be exploring all avenues to hold me accountable. He's going to be working with lawyers, investigators, police. Dude, can you imagine, like, you're a police officer and you get a filing for a guy from like another country, and it says, this guy said that I eat poop on the internet. This guy said that I eat poop on the internet. Can you do something about this? This guy said that I eat poop on the internet. So here's what's going to happen, okay? He's going to hire like a lawyer. And the second that the lawyer's going to be coy with his fees. Usually lawyers are paid up front in Latin America. You pay them up front. What this lawyer is going to do is the second that he realizes who Ethan Klein is, he's going to charge him by the hour like 20 times his normal fee. Usually in like Argentina, you know, for a defamation trial, you would say, the lawyer would agree with you, okay, pay me $10,000 and I'll see this whole process through from the beginning to the end. What this guy is going to do is he's going to be charged by the hour. They're going to milk the fuck out of him. And to be clear, I will fucking froth at the mouth to be sued in Argentina by Ethan Klein for defamation, to get all of the shit about like him talking about poop on the record. Do you know what the worst thing that can happen to in Argentina is as a result of defamation? I would like to show you. So in Argentina, the most popular TV presenter in the country is this guy named Eduardo Feynman. 4 years ago, he lost a defamation trial because live on television, he said straight up that a guy murdered someone. Like he was having a beef with some guy, and he said the guy killed someone. He accused this guy of murder on live TV on the most popular news station in the entire country. What do you think happened there? Literally, like, accusing someone of fucking murder. After a 2-year trial, he was fined $200. Not damages. There were no damages involved. He was fined $200. He didn't even have to retract on air. It gets better. It gets better. He appealed this. I don't know why. It's $200. But just to be a cunt, just to be a right old cunt. He appealed this ruling, which was regarding him factually accusing someone of murder, literal murder, live on air, on TV, as the most popular public figure in the country in terms of like news media. What happened? He appealed it, and he was absolved. It was decided that accusing someone of murder on live TV cannot be considered defamation. He literally said about like a former soldier that he had killed like one of his compatriots in cold blood, and the court decided that what he said cannot be action. Now, imagine if you go to the Argentine court system and you're like, this guy said that I said live on air that my kid got a parasite, and then I said that you get this parasite from eating shit. Something that he factually said. What is the worst thing that you could think could happen? Like, I could literally not even go to court. I could literally do nothing, and like I would not be in any trouble at all. However, I would do something because, like, dude, this shit is nothing. Like, for the fun of it, I would absolutely defend myself just so that we could have, like, in Argentine public record, like a bunch of like 50-point like legal filings going over all the times that Ethan Klein has talked about shit, all the times that he talked about like eating shit, or him talking about giardia, him talking about like his kid crawling around, putting everything in his mouth, as he said, and then like we could get that out there for everyone to see. Like, I wouldn't even care. I would get like the shittiest lawyer in the world to do this because it's not even worth actually trying to defend myself with real money in a case like this, because the consequences are nothing. Just because I want to get it on the record, because it's fucking hilarious. This guy tries to litigate someone claiming that something that he actually said happened, which was him saying, oh, my entire family has giardia. And then his crew is like, but how do you get giardia? And he's like, you have to eat my shit. I want that to be a court case. Like, imagine litigating that. Or he's gonna go to the police about it. And I'd love to see him as well try to argue in court that getting a visit from CPS is like some sort of risk to his person or something, because that would be really funny as well. A court would be like, well, CPS is like the fucking government child protection agency. Getting a visit from CPS is not like you were attacked by terrorists or something. Like he tries to frame it like I hired a hitman or something. That's how he frames like someone calling CPS. I have never felt less threatened by anything in my entire life, and he thinks he's like the Joker or something. It's fucking incredible. Like, he's used to living in a country where you can just file frivolous lawsuit after frivolous lawsuit against people and like basically threaten them into silence because they don't want to deal with the trouble, even though they would beat you. So I will note that everyone should stand back and stand by, because with his supposed lawsuit against Noah, which I don't think is actually going to be going through with, I have privileged information. I can tell you that Ethan Klein has united forces far beyond his power and his reckoning. He has united people who go way beyond him, and things are not going to be going very well for him in the future. When Ethan Klein hears about what we have organized for him, he is going to throw an absolute fucking fit. He's going to have a mental fucking breakdown. He has made pretty much the biggest mistake he ever could have made. You'll know when you see it what I'm talking about. I'm not going to be the one who's announcing it. I am involved, but I'm not the main guy here. You're gonna see someone way bigger than me, with way more money than me, with way more power than me, and way more than Ethan announcing it. And then this person has on their side way more people just like them who Ethan Klein is going to be fucking scared into submission just at the very prospect of having these people taking action against him. Because there is no better way to deal with a vexatious litigant than people with fuck off money, way more fuck off money than he could ever hope to have, throwing it right back at him. Let's just say that he's going to regret the imputations of pedophilia against me. He's going to regret ever mentioning the word lawsuit, not just against me, but against many other people. He's going to regret ever mentioning it against Hassan Piker, against Denims, against Frogan, against whatever other people, Reddit moderators, against anyone else who is threatening here, because he has basically ensured his own downfall by doing this. And you will know when you see it what I am talking about. I'm not, as I said, I will not be the one announcing it, but you will know when you see the announcement.
Not so fast! You're in zone A. Bravo. All locations secured. Hold your positions.
And that's my message to you guys. Think about what you say and what you do, because you're gonna look back and be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Losing B.
Shane Dawson is one of the most recognizable YouTubers to set foot on this earth. And despite having dipped his toes into every controversy that you could possibly be involved with, he has had a career on this platform for 15 years and counting. And since his major cancellation in 2020, his reputation has tanked amongst the general population to such a degree that whoever runs Google Images, or like the algorithm that controls it, has chosen this to be the first picture that appears when you look him up. That's rough, but deserved. In just a few short years, approximately 30 million of Shane's viewers have jumped ship. It's actually a bit shocking to me that he still has that many left, because if you have watched his content anytime recently, it is jam-packed with anime filler.
Grabbing the lemon, right? I cut it in half. And then I cut it in half once more, right there. You can see me cut it, right?
Now, younger Gen Z will likely remember Shane mostly from his conspiracy theories or his documentaries about content creators like Tana Mojo, Jake Paul, and most infamously, Jeffree Star, who I actually made a full-blown series about a couple months ago. And while those aforementioned videos are very stupid and cringe upon reflection, they are nowhere near, not even a little bit, close to how harmful his content was between the years 2009 to 2015. And that is definitely saying something. To put it bluntly, Shane's content was not just stupid, it was absolute trash with a capital T.
Look at me, I'm eating sushi. I like to make my eyes all Japanesey.
Hey, it's Ashley Titsdale from The Sweet Life. Nobody gives a shit. And you're watching the Disney Channel.
Did you know there's only 9 calories in each teaspoon of spoon? And it has zinc and calcium, which helps prevent tooth decay. Have a good day. My first thought in reading that was, then why are Miley Cyrus's teeth so... Just kidding, but seriously.
During this time, he produced commentary videos, vlogs, skits, and even a full-length film, all of which contained a ton of racism, ableism, and homophobia.
All right, fat girls. That's our show.
And on top of that, jokes about things like SA and PDF file activities.
You're probably wondering why I'm smiling at you like a... Hey, what's up, you guys? So some of you may know I just recently had a birthday where I turned 23. I know, that's the average age of most of the guys on To Catch a Predator.
And he did all of that while knowing that he had a very young and impressionable audience. And the age of his audience at the time is abundantly clear in a lot of ways. For one thing, it's impossible to make a video like this that is designed for adults.
So this is my favorite magazine, Popstar Magazine. It has my
Miley and the Jonas Brothers. I read this every single night.
Another example is if you look at his old fan videos from around this time. Like this one that asks the profound question, what if Shane Dawson never existed? I climb, I slip, I fall. If you're wondering the answer to that question, the child who created this simply writes, "We love you, Shaney, forever and ever. You mean the world to us. Love, Dawson whores of the world." Yes, I wish it wasn't true, but apparently a lot of his fans called themselves Dawson. Another honorable mention I have is this high schooler who had Shane Dawson as her senior quote. "When the odds are against you, believe in yourself and you will find your inner hero, Shane Dawson." Which is so unfortunate. I am so sorry, Paula, wherever you are. They need to redact this for you. Now, if you're wondering what the hell I was watching in 2009, the answer is Dan and Phil, because I'm a good person. Just kidding. I actually don't blame any of his young fans, rest assured. And I'll even admit it, when I was 11 years old, I encountered a Shane Dawson video that sadly went platinum in my household.
My name is Gabby. I'm 12 years old, and I'm pregnant as
I used to go around saying I'm pregnant as and thank God I got back on my Dan and Phil grind after that. Like, phew, it was a close call. Spoiler alert though, just like Jeffree Star, I do also believe him to be a criminal. In fact, in the immediate aftermath of working on the Jeffree Star series, I saw Shane as someone who was a racist villain in the past, but was ultimately stupid and docile in the present day.
It's moving fast.
Here is what we got.
I truly believed that Shane was just Jeffree Star's Igor. Like a problematic dumbass who just got carried away in Jeffree's lies. But oh, no. I actually think Shane might be the ultimate chess player with more evil intentions than Jeffree Star and James Charles combined. And for the sake of journalistic integrity, I have been subjecting myself to more Shane Dawson content than anyone else on this earth except for Shane himself. I stayed up for multiple nights on end, surviving off of Tums and G Fuel inside this Paddington and Peru cup, reaching madness and aging like a president. And as if that wasn't bad enough, I may have manifested him into my life because I saw him in the flesh. No, I'm not joking. We were both in the Mario Land gift shop at Universal Studios at the same time. We should not have occupied the same space. Upon spotting him, my fiance told me to put on sunglasses, but it was too late. There had been a half a second of eye contact. And dare I say, I have a memorable face. This prompts me to say, Shane, if you are watching this, how does it feel to know that you and your mortal enemy were on the Mario ride together? Hairy, foul beast. Unfortunately, I'm not the only person who has recently bumped into him at a theme park. A few weeks ago, I came across this TikTok on my FYP that is a group of 20-year-old girls who are meeting Shane Dawson to heal their inner teen. I hate to foreshadow, but their inner teen should be very scared right now.
Oh well, he's sexy and underage, so I know you guys are gonna like him.
And their happy faces, along with this emotionally compelling music, are already concerning enough. But just wait until you read the comments. I'm sobbing. He looks so freaking sweet in this video. Why am I emotional over Shane Dawson right now? 11,000 likes. I know he was canceled and I don't watch him no more, but I would most definitely stop and ask for a picture and talk to heal my inner teen who wanted to meet him so bad. 26,000 likes. And the creme de la creme, he's probably just as nervous when people come up to him now. This sweet interaction probably made his month. He should be nervous. But that wasn't even the end of it. Just a few days later, I found this TikTok of Shane and Co. listening to Bad Baby. Under which the comments are again very positive, with one commenter even saying, "I love him and I don't care." 6,000 likes. And when I saw this, I said, hell no. I'm stopping this train, this Shane train, dead in its tracks. Because these people, A, forgot what happened, or B, know some of what happened, but don't realize the full extent of the issue here. And until recently, I fell into Camp B. I knew he did fucked up things, but not to this extent. Between 2020 and 2021, Shane deleted 1,000 videos from his channels Shane, Shane Dawson TV, and Shane Dawson TV 2, which was the equivalent of deleting 1.4 billion views. And that's not even accounting for all of the collaborations that have been deleted from other content creators who didn't want to be associated with Shane after his famous cancellation of
"I did not blank my cat. I've never done anything weird with my cat."
Now, this made it a challenge to find all the footage we needed to create this video, let alone the ability to put everything in a timeline. And for those of you who don't know, deleted videos can be found through a web archive called the Wayback Machine. And it is an easy peasy process if anyone has a copy of the URL to the video. The issue that became the real hurdle was the fact that these videos are so old. Because if you recall, all of the videos on YouTube used to run using something called the Adobe Flash Player. Major throwback, I know, which was phased out in 2015, meaning even if you had the link to a deleted video and there was a snapshot on the Wayback Machine, you were still toast. Because if it was saved before 2015, the chances are you are not able to watch it. This extinct Flash Player made it appear as though all of this content was just lost to time. But there was no way we were just gonna sit here and rely on old snippets of re-uploaded Shane Dawson content compilations on YouTube. Oh no, not for this video, not for an unhinged deep dive. So we built a fucking virtual machine that could run an outdated version of Windows to run an archived version of Adobe Flash Player, which fortunately and unfortunately allowed us to comb through hours and hours of content that Shane wanted gone. But despite all of that work, there are in fact some videos that only exist via re-uploads and little snippets. And so I've come up with a system. In the scenario I don't know the upload dates, we will refer to the Shane haircut timeline. To do this, we simply must analyze the cut, swoop, droop, and shine of the Dawson's hair to determine the year. And I've come up with this simple formula here that will help us draw that conclusion. What exact era is Shane in? Let's take the music video fuck up from 2014, for example.
I'm sorry, I'm a fuck up. Yeah.
Here we see Shane's hair has a longer cut, slightly cropped bangs, and unfortunately, sideburns. He also swoops his hair to the left side, which of course leads us to that final conclusion: cut plus swoop divided by droop squared times shine equals 2014. With all that being said though, and without further ado, we are here to answer the age-old question: what is wrong with Dawson?
I hate people. There, I said it. I fucking hate people. What you are about to see may shock you. It may throw you into a seizure of uncontrollable vomit. So get those thumbs ready to press thumbs up for my shitty life. This question comes from iPod Touchman 49. I don't get it. Oh well, he's sexy and underage, so I know you guys are gonna like him. If I could go back in time, what would I do?
This is Gray. We have wounded. Get us a ride yesterday.
Shane's early years / meet the Yaws. Shane Dawson was born Shane Lee Yaw on July 19th, 1988 in Long Beach, California, specifically at Long Beach Memorial Hospital, which is coincidentally the same hospital where Miranda Cosgrove and Jeanette McCurdy were born.
You were born in Long Beach?
I was. Long Beach Memorial, actually same hospital as Miranda Cosgrove.
And same hospital as Shane Dawson.
No way! Are you kidding?
Yes.
I mean, hey, thank you, Long Beach Memorial. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Shane also has 2 brothers, Jared and Jacob Yaw. And Jacob is sort of like the lost Yaw brother because Shane never talks about him online. When it comes to Jacob, I had to scour the internet to find any information about this fucking guy. And after watching a delirious amount of content in search of him, I was only able to find one deleted vlog that he cameoed in, which was titled Hot Pepper Challenge, published way back in 2012.
Oh my god. Are they burning through your hand? Alright, go. Are you gonna take both of them? You have to chew them.
How hot is it? Is it hot?
How red is my face, Shane?
Real red. You're crying a little bit.
Some netizens on Reddit.com speculated on his absence, theorizing that maybe he was a drug addict or he went to jail or that he was possibly adopted. And some of these theories I was able to actually confirm from an old episode of Ear Biscuits posted approximately in 2013. Shane says that growing up, both of his brothers were drug addicts, an illness that Jared eventually overcame, while unfortunately Jacob continued his drug use, which ultimately resulted in his family distancing themselves from him.
My brother Jared, I'm sure he's fine with me going into this because he's turned his life around, but he got into drugs. And my other brother got very into drugs to a point where we didn't see him.
As far as the theory that Jacob was adopted, it's really none of my business to say whether or not he is. But I will say this. Jared and Shane share a lot more similarities in terms of appearance, which is honestly a really good thing because he's the only one that is missing a pink face and a neck beard. Good for him. Granted, we know very little of this guy. I personally think he might be the least weird and least problematic Yaw because, as we'll get into, like every single person in this family is just f***ed up. In contrast, Shane has always spoken really highly of Jared, spelled Jerid. Interesting decision, but you may actually recognize him and his bald head because he's been a very important part of Shane's conspiracy theories and podcast for several years now.
There's a 10th planet in our solar system called Nibiru, where a species called the Anunnaki live. And the Inkies had gained a consciousness, and the Anunnaki wiped them all out. Pretty much just slaughtered them.
Jared and Shane had a really good relationship growing up, but fun fact, he threw Shane through a glass door at 9 years old.
So at 9 years old, your brother threw the 400-pound you through a glass door?
It was an accident, kind of. We were really into wrestling at the time, and he was trying to do like this Undertaker move. He covered me in blankets, so I was okay. But the move was he put me in blankets on a chair, and then he would run toward the chair, and he was trying with his arm, and he was trying to knock me out. But then he missed, and I just flew through the glass.
Which is pretty much the only time he has ever faced any sort of justice, I fear. But all I knew about him prior to research was that he's a flat earther, which is a theory that has been debunked numerous times. And seldom is it a good thing to believe in. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a flat earther be like based as hell. But anyways, he's also the owner of a clothing brand that sells very ugly shirts called Language Arts Clothing Co. And he's also a underground rapper. And look, when you hear that Shane Dawson's brother is a rapper, you don't know what to expect. But I most certainly was not prepared to hear it, because it's essentially a mix of like old school hip hop with pirate music. I mean, you know what? Sure, maybe rap isn't your thing, but check out this freestyle and tell me he didn't hit that shit.
Just relax. I didn't pay my taxes, so now my furniture's gone. Where do I relax with?
And then we have Jared's last flop of an independent endeavor, which is his YouTube channel called Cool Guy with Sunglasses. The fuck of it all is that he ain't even wearing sunglasses. Apparently, he was inspired to make this channel after some of Shane's fans told him that he's sexy.
A lot of you guys would comment saying how funny I was and how sexy I was and you want to see more of me, and I really appreciated that.
And there's only two things worth even bringing up with this channel, and it's that first, Shane Dawson does an interview with him where he just abruptly lets out a big shart in the middle of it.
It's another person.
And secondly, and this is really bizarre, okay, he doesn't post anything on it anymore except for weekly tests, which is just bizarre because it's like, does he not realize you can test your audio without posting it? And why hasn't Shane told him that? Like, he just sits there. And then there's Shane's father, Kyle Yaw Jr., which, by the way, if your name is Kyle, you should not be a junior. That name should have been put to a stop a lot sooner than that. But basically, Kyle Yaw is a piece of shit. In Shane's Draw My Life video, he not only says that Kyle hit him and his brothers, but that he abandoned them for a chick with big tits and made really good burritos.
But hitting us wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the things he'd say, and I always believed him. Even up until my 20s, I thought he was right. Luckily, when I was 9, he left my mom and us for another woman. She had huge tits. She was really good at making burritos.
This woman was also apparently Shane's Spanish teacher and his mom's best friend.
And yeah, so he ended up leaving us for my Spanish teacher / mom's best friend.
Oh, no.
Which is just the ultimate douchebag thing that you can do. Like, I don't know how you can possibly make that even worse. Like, damn, might as well take a dump on the welcome mat on your way out. And many years later, Shane would post a video titled My Relationship with My Dad, which explains that he reconnected with his dad, but his dad was pretty much like, hey, stop telling people I hate you as a kid because it's making me look really bad.
I don't want to get too much into it because I've talked to him recently and he doesn't really want, his shit aired out there. And he shouldn't, because I've already talked about it now.
It's a whole thing, but we'll circle back to that later. This brings us to Teresa Yaw, who is a staple of Shane's channel since its inception. And to just put it right out there, put all the cards on the table already, she is very weird, and their relationship is weird and disturbing, to be honest. I mean, even take this one picture, for instance. Like, what the goose is that? How old is this kid? She would appear in a lot of his older content with videos like My Mom Reacts, where Shane relishes in making her extremely uncomfortable.
Hey, what's up, you guys? You know what time it is. Time to make my mom really, really uncomfortable.
Talking about things like her new foods, her pussy, and even watching together. The list goes on. Just some weird ass shit.
Oh my god, new pics. Oh, I'm on your dating profile site. That's right. Click out of there.
And it's not even like a one-sided thing that Shane is like foisting upon her. She absolutely plays into this behavior and enables him.
Katie wants to know, what's your favorite sexual noise?
Is it coming out of my mouth or whose mouth?
I don't know whose mouth is going in or coming out.
Which I guess isn't surprising since she raised him. Roll the clips, Jamie.
Okay, Mom, I'm gonna go see my girlfriend.
This random guy from Yugoslavia wants pictures of my foot. Gotta go.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the Friday video, and it's a special video because you all saw my mom's vagina today. Is that an embarrassed face or an excited face? A little bit of both. Megan Marie says, "Hey, Teresa, have you ever tried to lick your own vagina before?"
Probably the worst example of Shane taking it too far with his mom is this video where he actually shows a nude picture of his mom blurred out on screen.
Well, at least she's still naive.
I would hope that she wasn't actually naked in the original photo, but at the very least, she appears to be in her underwear. And if you just think about that for half a second, imagine putting a picture of your mom in Photoshop, probably wearing just underwear, and editing her all for the sake of an air quotes joke about how she doesn't understand how the internet works. I don't know, it just feels like some kind of like Freudian slip. In the case of the porn they watched together, this was a video called 2 Kids 1 Sandbox, which thankfully has nothing to do with actual children, has a scary ass name for no reason at all, but it is a shocking video basically where a woman shoves a up a man's. I don't even know if you'll be able to tell what I'm saying because those words will definitely be bleep bleep bleeps, but that's why she responds like this.
Ow, ow, what is that? What is that? Is it a banana?
Now, watching porn with your mom is really outlandish to me specifically too, because I already felt uncomfortable enough as a child watching the sexual tension between the Bee and Vanessa in the Bee movie. Like, what the hell was that? And aside from the weird sexual stuff, she also participates in his racism. For example, in a video titled Mom's Ghetto Makeover, Shane invites all his black friends over to do exactly what the title suggests, which is giving her a air quotes ghetto makeover.
Today I'm filming a video where my mom is trying to be black. So we have Shauna coming over, we have a couple other black people coming over, and we're gonna force my mom to twerk and pop her pussy. I'm also gonna force her to wear very, very revealing clothing.
Which actually just consists of giving her cornrows, which basically is just 2 braids on her head.
Who is that with those cornrows?
To Shane's logic, that's enough to make her black for his music video.
Damn, who's that black girl in my house? Who is that?
And this stuff really makes you wonder what the hell she was teaching him growing up. This also isn't even close to the end of Teresa participating in his debauchery, but let's move on to Shane's high school years. Shane went to Lakewood High School. During his years there, he struggled making friends and ended up spending most of his time with his grandma. He says that ages 9 to 18 were some of the hardest in his life because his dad was actively a deadbeat, of course, not paying any sort of child support, leaving them living off of food stamps and government cheese.
So food was a coping mechanism for you at that time.
It was really cheap to eat cans and cans of refried beans and government cheese. That's what was cheap for us.
And it was the perfect storm for him to begin eating excessively as a coping mechanism. Henceforth, gaining a crap ton of weight, which he estimated to be about 450 pounds. There was no way to be for sure, though, because he always maxed out the scale to error.
You said you weighed how much?
My highest was, I don't know exact number, but my scale only went up to 350, and I was always at error. But I lost a bunch of weight, and then I was at 350, so I was probably highest 400.
Apparently, he looked like a hearty 250, though.
But you know what? I held it well. I never looked 400. I looked like 250.
He also says that besides his own grandma, he only made one new friend every year. And he describes that one friend as usually being R-slurred.
No, I didn't really have friends. I had like one friend every year. And they were also, I mean, I had a friend who was like in a wheelchair and like, I mean, let's just say, God, I don't want to say, I've already said, oh Lord. Whatever, I had a retarded friend.
Because he became the president of the Best Buddies Club, which was a program where leaders would befriend a R-word person.
I was the president of Best Buddies, which is a program in school where you befriend a person and you take them to movies and you like go to Disneyland with them, and I was the president. I know, I'm a giver.
Kind of depressing how he looked down on these kids that he was supposed to care about.
I hate people. There, I I said it. I fucking hate people.
But anyways, during this time, Shane also began directing videos for his school projects. And to my shock, what? No way! Huh? Many of them were highly offensive and horrible. He did everything from dressing up as Adolf Hitler
Talk about labor, kill all people, and figure out the currency.
to his very first blackface.
She got from and got a face of a beast.
Baby's first blackface. Thank you. I hate it. What makes it worse, too, is his explanation for having made these videos. He says because he was bullied for his weight, he took influence from black culture to create his jokes.
So yeah, I was in that area of Long Beach. So my crowd was all black people, and this sounds racist and whatever. I guess it's going to, but I definitely got picked on a lot. Being a 400-pound white lesbian-looking boy, I had to form a sense of humor, and I really took from the black culture, and I started creating jokes out of the movies they were watching, the music they were listening to, all this stuff. So my humor is very, very black, and it still is pretty black.
Please explain to me how black culture influenced you to do blackface. I'm waiting. Friggin' moron. Anyways, Shane says that he was popular amongst his teachers, who would often take him aside and tell him that his videos were hilarious.
The teachers would pass around my videos to all the other teachers, and it was like this big thing.
So you went viral amongst the teachers at your high school.
It was very weird. Yeah. And once in a while, like, they'd take me aside and be like, saw your Hitler high school video. Funny.
Which, if true, means that, in a way, they kind of failed him by misleading him and affirming that this problematic behavior was okay to a child. That shit would not fly at my high school. Granted, Shane is 10 years older than me. I'm just saying I would have got my ass freaking kicked for doing half of this shit. And I think that is a key that is missing to Shane's story. It's that he never got his ass beat. But I digress. In 2006, he graduated from Lakewood High and began his long and twisted journey into becoming the most problematic millennial. But before we get into that, I need to tell you about today's sponsor, Midas Merge. Midas Merge is a relaxing game that's all about combining items and adorable animals. Now, this is my second time working with them, and I cannot tell you how happy this makes me, because I am a huge fan of this game. And listen, okay, I know a lot of people tell you that, but I am being so serious. I play this game unironically every day. And if you still don't believe me, the reviews speak volumes. Like, it has 4.9 stars with 16,000 reviews. And get this, the game doesn't even have ads. It's just pure freaking joy. Anyways, so let me tell you all about it. Midas Merge is set in a fantasy land called the Gardens of Gold, which has been covered in dark shadows by the evil, deplorable goddess Nyx, or as the turtle would say, that fancy emo meanie. And listen, I gotta open up, I gotta be honest about my girl Nyx. It's hard not to catch feelings. She literally said this to me. What am I supposed to do? Regardless of appearance or charm, though, we can luckily restore the kingdom by merging items together and feeding adorable animals. Like this little guy. Get a little key, get a little guy. It's simple. For example, if you hatch 3 level 1 crystal fawns, you get the level 2 fawn. This one's name is Leo, and like need I say more, okay? He took the substance. He's beautiful. Try Midas Merge today. It's free. You can play it offline. There's no freaking ads, I must reiterate. So be amongst the first 100 people to install via my link or QR code to receive a unique level 2 U-Turtle. Okay, this ultra cute creature boosts your garden progress and will be personalized with my name. This is a limited time offer, so don't miss out. Click my link in the description or scan this QR code here and try it out. Thank you so much, Midas Merge, and now back to the video. 2007 era. Not much is known about this year, except that shortly after his graduation, on March 14th, 2007, he made a blog post on his MySpace sharing his journey about weight loss, updating to his close friends that he lost over 150 pounds. Aside from exercise, he had a fat removal surgery, which he would later say made him have to wear a makeshift girdle in order to keep his extra skin in check. Despite the latter, though, I personally think this probably helped him build the confidence he needed to be a piece of shit online. It's like the dude lost weight and got a haircut, and all of a sudden he's just dropping the N-word like it's nothing.
Julie wants to know, Shane, what would your black name be? Well, Julie, that is extremely racist, but I'm gonna say Shane Dawson, colon, I wasn't saying the N-word, you guys. Yes, I was.
But moving on to 2008, at age 19, Shane would post his first ever YouTube video and began going by the alias of Shane Dawson. Now, where does the name Dawson come from? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it was inspired by the characters Jack Dawson from Titanic, as well as Dawson from Dawson's Creek. Both of these characters are startlingly good people, so I find it to be very ironic. Shane, predictably, would also go on to use this alias to divert criticism away from his work, saying, when people get mad at me, that wasn't Shane Yaw, that was Shane Dawson, which is giving Jeffree Star, because he once famously said in a Chris Hansen interview, that was Jeffree Star the musician, not Jeffree Star the person that did that.
Blood on the Dance Floor and Jeffree Star the musician did a lot of tours separately.
Now, this is what Shane's channel looked like on March 16th, 2008. He branded everything on this first channel as SDTV, aka Shane Dawson TV. And as you can tell, he was very proud of this. Like, look at this intro where he has SDTV crawl across the screen for a painful 15 seconds straight. Astute observer, you may have noticed that he used that weird comic book filter from Photo Booth. For some reason, everyone thought it was really cool to use that at the time.
This is the comic book setting in effects in Photo Booth. Seems kind of crazy.
Like, I don't know, society was just built different back then. But his very first video was posted on March 10th, 2008, which is actually National Mario Day. How serendipitous. Anyways, this first video is titled SDTV Episode 1, The 411.
What's cracking, YouTubers? In case you don't know me, my name is Shane. Nice to meet you. All that stuff.
He kicks it all off claiming he has fucking cancer and says he only has 1 year left to live.
Well, you're probably wondering why I'm doing this. Truth is, I have cancer. And I actually only have a year until, yeah.
Before quickly going, I'm just kidding.
I'm lying. I ain't got cancer. I'm just bored as shit.
And proceeds to make, forgive me millennials, okay? I love you, but one of the most millennial faces I've ever seen.
I mean, I'm not gonna like play guitar and sing, hey there, Delilah, what you dancing across the giant view. Yeah, I'm really not gonna do that.
You know, it hurts to watch. And the rest of the video is truly no better, because he holds his neck at like this awkward 70-degree angle, specifically to keep his hair glued.
I don't even know if you can like make a distinction between Ethan and Destiny's community at this point. They're just in lockstep. They're in total lockstep in terms of who they're targeting, what their talking points are, and the clips that they use and what they decide to cover. The Israeli left or liberal Zionists like Ethan, they're not like fundamentally opposed to what the settlers are doing or what Netanyahu's doing. They just don't like that it makes Israel look bad. That's the issue. And so they're not able to principally take a stand and like advocate against the that's happening, because advocating against the would mean the dismantling of the Israeli ethno-state. And Ethan Klein doesn't believe it's an ethno-state. He doesn't believe it's apartheid, and he likes it. And so he's not willing to take a stand and actually go against the fundamental basis of what Israel was built off of, because he likes the fundamental basis of having like a Jewish state and having a Jewish ethno-state.
A personal favorite of mine was an article from the New York Times called "It Can Be Lonely to Have Middle-of-the-Road Opinions on the Middle East," which focused on college students that were seeking space for nuanced perspectives on the Israel-Hamas war. The perspective presented in this article is one-sided. They talk about extremism in student movements, but the only example they give for this point is that of the extremist Palestinian activists. The New York Times calls it a war with no reference to the numerous credible allegations of. It's harder to justify having a conversation about nuanced opinions of, so they just call it a war. There's no nuance and there's nothing progressive about this tendency to falsely frame it with neutrality will often slip into outright endorsement. Recall Israel's pager attack in Lebanon when they detonated over 1,000 pagers rigged with explosive. This was a widespread mass attack that indiscriminately targeted civilians and left hundreds dead and permanently injured and disfigured, including a number of children.
أول شيء أنا كنت إنه قاعد عم بلعب على التليفون وهي إنه فجرت الساعة 3 إنه قبل ما أنا أحملها عم بلعب على التليفون هيك صارت ترن غريبة أنا إنه قمت حملتها حطيت لي ايرور وسهم إنه عشان أكبس أوكي والضوء صار يغبش على الآخر. يعني عشان نقربها على عيوننا أنا قربت عشان نشوف شو فيه بس فقعت ما عرفت شيء.
Among those murdered was Fatima Abdullah, a 9-year-old girl. At her funeral, as well as other funerals with large crowds of people, Israel detonated more of these explosives. Despite this being a child killing and maiming indiscriminate attack in violation of international law, in Western liberal media, it was presented as a cool James Bond-style operation. It was described using words like...
honestly, like, this pager attack was insane, dude. And then what was that guy that talked to Mehdi Hassan? He's like, I hope your pager doesn't blow up, basically threatening him with an attack. Oh, man. Just complete dehumanization of anyone that dares to stand up against this.
Ambitious, sophisticated, and daring.
The Israeli spy agency Mossad launched one of the most daring and sophisticated deceptions in the history of counterintelligence.
An extraordinary act of espionage, an example of Israel's technological prowess. According to the New York Times, the attack restored the aura of Israel's intelligence agencies. Before covering the attack, these outlets always, of course, make sure to mention Hezbollah's U.S. designation as a terrorist organization. Don't worry, guys, they were just nothing to see here. We got the bad guys. They were bad. We are good. Mission accomplished. And of course, as we've touched on a couple times, lying by omission. That's another thing. With every previous example, you see it. The Israeli hostages receive wall-to-wall coverage with no mention of the fact that the majority of the deaths of these hostages were a product of the Israeli military through airstrikes or firing on hostages while they were waving white flags, or that on October 7th, Israel issued the Hannibal Directive, likely many hundreds of its own civilians as a matter of official policy. One of the really effective propaganda strategies that results from these lies by omissions comes in the case of allegations. Western outlets rarely, if ever, actually mention the numerous allegations of genocide levied against Israel. The few times that they do, they're often brief, unspecific, and accompanied with equivocation or lengthy citations of Israel's defense against the allegations. When the New York Times covered the Amnesty International report. The subheading immediately backtracks into running cover for Israel. Israel rejected the charge, the first of its kind by a major human rights organization, saying it was based on lies. The Times went on to spend more of the article sharing the IDF's defense against the allegations than any of the findings from the actual report. Amnesty International gave us 300 pages of facts about Israel says that they're just lies. I guess we'll never know what happened here. That's not journalism, that's propaganda. When Human Rights Watch released their report accusing Israel of committing crimes against humanity and its deliberate deprivation of access to clean drinking water, readers of the New York Times wouldn't have heard about that because the New York Times just didn't report it. That's one of the top human rights organizations in the world, accusing the #1 ally of the most powerful country in the world of the crime of all crimes. And they just forgot? No, they didn't forget. The editorial staff at the New York Times knows that they've helped this. They know that they are complicit in this. So any chance they get to just sort of forget to mention something as consequential as a allegation from the leading human rights group in the world, they'll do it. Of course they will. This tracks with the BBC's repeated denial, evident in repeated instances of reporters condemning or correcting guests for using the word genocide to describe Israel's actions in Gaza.
Israel would deny that a is taking place, saying that it is defending its right to exist. Its very existence, indeed, they would say, is under threat. So there are obviously two sides to this.
This whole issue of right of self-defense has allowed Israel to inflict the mass murder and mass destruction, what the ICJ now describe as plausible.
Can I just say,
this is not an act of
you know what I'm going to have to say. I'm going to say Israel denies that. They say that they were in pursuit of Hamas terrorists who hid behind their own people.
This is happening in front of our eyes.
We have, that word is, as you know, incredibly emotive, and the Israelis, as you know, will be saying that they are targeting Hamas only.
So afraid to say the word, man. Oh, the word genocide is emotive. Oh, well, it's also descriptive of what's happening right now. I'm sorry that it gets your emotions in a bunch. Anyway, I'm pleasantly surprised by this YouTube video so far. Basically 40 minutes in, and Noah's just described what's been happening in Gaza right now. So great job from him.
They don't target civilians.
Not the truth, unfortunately.
Planned, military incursions.
That's not the truth.
Yes, civilians are dying.
Civilians are dying, and the way that the bombs are getting dropped, I don't believe are in a targeted way. Nothing from what I'm hearing on the ground suggests that the bombs have been dropped in a targeted way. Our social media manager, all 5 houses around him got blown up. They estimate 100 people were killed in them. Yesterday, his house was the last one remaining in the neighborhood. They leveled an entire neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
and I do need to make that qualification, of course, that that it is always denied by the Israelis that is taking place. They say,
why? Who cares? Who cares? The only reason she has to make that distinction is because Israel and then the United States would be pissed at CNN. Right? Was this CNN or was this BBC? BBC. Israel would be pissed at the BBC if they didn't push back against this. I mean, they're already pissed enough that they're allowing Palestinians to speak at all. And so, yeah, they'd be really, that's the only reason. I mean, it's only because of her job. What, you need, every time you speak about Israel, you need to repeat the Israeli State Department talking point?
These are strategic planned strikes in Gaza and that they are targeting the militant group Hamas.
But I'm here to let the world know that that's not the case.
Kareem, you've been able to have your say. This is what the Israelis will always say in response to that.
This effort to whitewash and run cover for the has been intentional, of course, and we have the proof. It's been confirmed with direct evidence and testimony, with internal newsroom memos from not only the BBC, but the New York Times as well. And the last thing to talk about is just atrocity propaganda. One of the primary justifications for the genocide in Gaza is that members of Hamas are not just militants, but that they are monsters, pure evil motivated by nothing more than the sadistic hatred of Jews. This narrative has been fueled by stories of horrors that supposedly took place on October 7th. Hamas burned babies in ovens.
They burned babies alive.
They put children and burned them to death.
They cut the breasts off of women.
400 women shot in the genitals, their breasts cut off as terrorists played with their bloody breasts like a football. They cut off the breasts of women and throw them around.
They beheaded 40 babies.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
They behead children.
They cut the fetus out of the womb of a pregnant woman. They committed a campaign of systematized mass.
There is no justification for collective
What happened on October 7th was mass, systematic, planned, and genital mutilation of women.
All of these claims are false, complete fabrications, full stop. No credible evidence has been provided for any of them. Many were shown to be deliberately fabricated, and despite this, they were spread far and wide and ultimately used as rhetorical justification to continue the onslaught in Gaza. The first major place this narrative broke was Screams Without Words, a front-page New York Times story in late December of 2023. This story came as Israel's actions in Gaza were starting to receive widespread condemnation from the international community. The story was thoroughly debunked. The person who wrote it discredited as being a Zionist with no history of reporting and self-admitting that the New York Times pushed for this story to come to the public despite the lack of credible evidence. The New York Times podcast, The Daily, shelved the episode due to a lack of credible evidence, but the New York Times never retracted the story, which is because they had no real pressure to do so. The false narrative had already prevailed, and that narrative was consistent with the status quo of the American empire, for whom they are running cover. In July of last year, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu repeated some of these lies in front of Congress. He received a standing ovation. 3 weeks later, the White House approved a $20 billion military aid package to Israel. They explicitly cited Netanyahu's visit as one of their motivations for doing so. Atrocity propaganda has consequences. So with that context out of the way about the Gaza and its support from the West and within Israel, the broader media system that allowed it to happen, let's now return to Ethan's video. In the content nuke, you can find just about every type of what we just looked at in terms of manufacturing consent. Ethan spreads atrocity propaganda. He shares the Hamas mass hoax, the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the US government, and the Israeli government to justify
he said it was a hoax. He said that the mass that there's not really any evidence of, and Israel won't let independent investigators come in and investigate, and actually they completely ruined any evidence that would have supported that by like moving all of the bodies and then ruining their autopsies. Noah said that the mass was a hoax. He's actually a Hamas agent. Noah Samson is Hamas.
It's the same sources that these parties cite when they go on stage to legitimize more military killing machinery shipments to Israel.
And October 7, last year, Hamas committed horrific acts of violence. Cheryl, I thank you for all your work to bring to light the horrors of this issue and for your film about what happened on October 7.
In his video, Ethan spreads overt misinformation, just straight up lies about Hezbollah and Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about Ansar Allah, which he uses as proof of the claim that they brought back slavery, when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. He spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass allegation.
There's a UN report that concludes it happened,
which the report itself denies. He spends 20 minutes in the video smearing a 19-year-old survivor of the US-backed Saudi genocide.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
As a terrorist with zero credible evidence. He makes a number of transparently false anti-Semitism accusations, like his claim that Israel's ban on new account signups from Israel was anti-Semitic.
Around the end of the year, when people started talking about anti-Semitism on Twitch, Dan Saltman discovered the Israel ban when he was sent the code proving the block happened.
In reality, the ban also affected millions of non-Jews living in Israel and Palestinians in Palestine, as shown in the evidence he himself cites. The IP ban went into effect in both. Like all these Western liberal outlets, Ethan just takes the State Department line of thinking when it comes to which his video is ostensibly a crusade against. By his own definition, both the US and Israel are the largest organizations in the world, given their history of killing millions of innocent civilians across the globe. His focus is not on them, though, rather the groups that they consider to be terrorists, aka, the bad guys. He actually uses those exact words. He says they're the bad guys.
They are a designated group by the US, by the EU. These guys are clearly the bad guys.
The entire video is kind of a lie by omission, simply because of everything we just went over. How none of it is a factor, how none of the people viewing the video that are unfamiliar with what's happening would ever come away with his video knowing the full picture, knowing some of the very valid reasons why someone like Hassan might be critical of Israeli atrocity propaganda, or might support groups like the Houthis for their heroic actions in the Red Sea against a genocide regime. The biggest issue, I think, is that Ethan manages to do all of this while still calling himself a stalwart ally to the Palestinians.
I've been a stalwart supporter of the Palestinian cause for many years.
This is what makes liberal Zionism so insidious. He is using humanistic appeals to things like peace and safety, but doing so in a way that distracts from the actual source of the problem. The problem is Zionism and the Israeli state. That is what's causing these problems. And people that might otherwise be able to understand if presented with the facts of the situation are simply led astray by people like Ethan, where a more right-wing Zionist might put off the average liberal with extremist claims and overtly language. A liberal Zionist draws you in with the facade of empathy. He wants to appear empathetic, as if he cares for these people, as if he doesn't ascribe to a ideology. So in order to do that, he has to lie, and roping in otherwise progressive people into a death cult. Aside from this video being a nonsensical title propaganda piece, it's also entirely unoriginal. The video is a culmination of a months-long campaign against Hassan and all these other creators and Twitch, the company, to smear them as and anti-Semites and get people, in trouble. The campaign began as a response to the suspension of the live streamer Asmongold. Asmongold made some comments that explicitly justified Israel's genocide of Palestinians in Gaza.
I'm not going to cry a f***ing river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. They come from an inferior culture. I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care. I don't support them.
Following his suspension for these comments, a community of large content creators, most notably the live streamer Destiny, along with his fan base, rushed to Asmongold's defense, whitewashing and justifying his comments.
Meanwhile, Asmongold gets a 15-day ban for having a spicy take on the war.
So you have someone like Asmongold who...
Bro, I don't even know if you can make a distinction between Ethan and Destiny's community at this point. They're just in lockstep. They're in total lockstep in terms of who they're targeting, what their talking points are, and the clips that they use and what they decide to cover. Yeah. I guess at the beginning they're talking about there was maybe a distinction, but not anymore.
Breathes the wrong direction, says the wrong thing, and instantly gets banned.
In this situation, one could, if they were to extend the charitability, could say that Asmongold was probably referring to extremists in the Islamic religion. Extremists in the Islamic religion.
The case of...
Who gives a dude? Why are people people really defend Asmongold? That's so embarrassing. Honestly, Mudahar. I need to cover him more. He seems like a total piece of... He was saying that he's gonna offer to fly Hassan out to Palestine. Dude, oh my god, he's such a loser. But guys, consider signing up for memberships. It helps me out, helps my editors out. Only $1 a month, so it's really not a big deal. Your name can be green. That will be cool.
I've spoken quite a bit on my channel about the insidiousness of liberal Zionism, which makes it quite a bit worse than regular old Zionism. Because liberal Zionists try to pull people in by framing themselves as what they aren't. So while a more out-and-out Zionist will talk more openly about what their goals are, ethnic cleansing, genocide, settler colonialism, land theft, basically trying to eliminate any sort of identifiable Palestinian people for the benefit of Israelis. A liberal Zionist who fundamentally wants those goals, or at least something very close to those sorts of goals, tries to pull people in via obfuscation. So while the more out-and-out and open Zionists tend to have trouble recruiting people to their cause who aren't already the sorts of shitbags who would believe in the sort of thing that they believe in, the role of the liberal Zionist is more to recruit people to that same cause who are not like that, but who, if they are caught before they are able to develop more of an understanding and more of an empathy with the Palestinian people, could be molded into something like that. And I want to provide you today with an example of precisely what one of the people who molds people into this absolutely heinous and disgusting form that is the Zionist ends up looking like after doing this for years. The context of this is that the YouTuber Noah Samson made a 2-minute long video informing people of the large-scale pro-Palestine protests which happened across the USA and specifically in Washington, D.C. over the past week. And Lonabox, who is a liberal Zionist propagandist, though not a very successful one given his dying channel, saw that Noah Samsen made a video, and he obviously hates Noah Samsen because Noah Samsen has called him out for the liberal Zionist propagandist that he is. And Lonabox, someone who has framed himself as pro-Palestinian, he frames himself as pro-Palestinian in like this very liberal Zionist way, where the other pro-Palestinian people are all just insane, and the only real logical way to be pro-Palestine is his way, which is, you know, there's no genocide in Gaza, Israel is not ethnically cleansing Gaza, Israeli propaganda is real actually, Palestinians have no right to resist, Palestinians should not have any right to return to their lands, Israel is actually not settler colonialism. What we should worry about is actually reverse genocide rather than the actual ongoing genocide. Palestinian children, toddlers and babies massacred by Israel were probably just Hamas militants actually. You know, stuff like that. And this is his reaction to seeing Noah Samsen saying that. And it kind of speaks for itself, to be honest. And I want to note here, this is posted positively on the H3H3 Productions subreddit. So apparently the people there think that this was like a really funny, epic and awesome and based moment. But it's another liberal Zionist community, the few remaining followers of liberal Zionist Ethan Klein, who also seem to think this is an extremely funny thing that we should all laugh at. So let's check that out real quick.
It's not about Ethan. Okay. But it's only a minute long, so minute 28. I wonder if it's this short. Can we get a genocide timer? Let's get a genocide timer. Come on.
Israel is currently enacting its final solution on the Palestinian people.
Okay, 2 seconds 88. Okay. Final solution, eh? That was quick.
I mean, it really does kind of speak for itself, doesn't it? This guy is just such a demon. He is so embroiled in the pro-Israel propaganda complex, from which he has profited quite a bit, we'll get into that in a minute, that he sees a video about a protest against genocide, and he's surprised when a reference is made to genocide, and he immediately frames that as like a game, right? Like, it's like an opportunity for him to like sort of own his opponent as you would in like a petty argument on a video game forum or something. Like, haha, he made a reference to genocide in 2.8 seconds? Wow, what a fucking moron. You know, as Israel is just openly saying and has been openly saying that it's doing ethnic cleansing, genocide. Its entire aim is to get rid of the Palestinian people from Gaza entirely, as it massacres hundreds of Palestinians every week explicitly for that purpose. His reaction to that is not to denounce it, it's not to raise awareness about it, it's not to have like any sort of empathy or humanity. It's to look at someone attempting to encourage people to go to a protest against this genocide, and mock his use of the word genocide. This is considered a genocide by pretty much every single remotely reputable human rights organization in the world, even those that are just explicitly pro-Western and which people like this would normally love to cite in any other topic aside from Israel. You know, use the word genocide to talk about an anti-genocide protest. That's a subject of mockery. He used the word, the no-no word. You can't use that word against Israel. Like, they're at the point where they aren't even trying to argue that it's not genocide, and instead they're trying to frame the term genocide as like this special magical no-no word that you automatically lose if you even mention. That is like the level of obviousness that the genocide is at now, and the level of depravity that its defenders and its supporters, like Lonabox, have descended to. And they were already extremely depraved beforehand. It's not really surprising that someone like this was given an all-expenses-paid propaganda trip to Israel, where they met with Israeli propagandists like the Israeli Goebbels, Eilon Levy. And it's also not surprising that this guy was given money, $2,000 in fact, to do quote-unquote campaign advertising for the Democratic Party-aligned PAC Progressive Victory. Public record, easy to find. Search for it if you want. It's especially funny because he traveled to the US to work for $2,000 for this Progressive Victory PAC. And apparently this is the progressives that they have. And I guess we can say that the progressive victory that they seek is a progressive liquidation of the Palestinian people, where that genocide is like a point of laughter, like a punchline. Like, what is there to say about this? This is just plain one of the most disgusting things that I have ever seen. And honestly, this stuff is just heinous, depraved, disgusting. Yeah, and you should go and report it if you dislike it. And what more is there to say?
Glued to the side of his head. And I know this has already been said many a times via memes, but he truly does look like Rumpelstiltskin from Shrek. But you can compare this to a lot of things. It kind of reminds me of the bent neck lady from Haunted House, or the fucking Earth on its axis, or the dream face reveal. He has enough hairspray on the side of his face that it could rip the skin off, or his stealth skin, I should say. It's an awful unfunny video that nobody could possibly enjoy in the year 2025. Well, except this person, of course. I miss the old Shane so much. I wish I could time travel. Out of all the things you could time travel for, you time travel for Shane Dawson. This video would serve as the beginning of his vlogs. And at the end of this video, okay, and most importantly for the lore, is that he announces in the next video he will be taking his camera to work.
I'm gonna take my camera to work. Yeah, Jenny Craig. Extremely exciting.
And that sounds inconsequential, but this decision would change YouTube history forever. Now, at the time, Shane's mom got him a job at a weight loss company called Jenny Craig so that he could save up money and move to Hollywood to become a star. The video in question was called Jenny Craig Video, finally revealed. And in it, he films himself, his mom, and his brother, as well as several geriatric co-workers doing some wild, whimsical shenanigans by having them read a weight loss smut book called Losing It to the camera.
I don't know where that horny little dirtbag got the idea. I was interested in going in that direction.
He also proceeds to film himself and these geriatric women on a pole, stripping and dancing like boom, 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 boom. But to their utter shock and horror, when Shane posted it online, Jenny Craig management saw it and realized that this was not going to help them sell their weight loss starter kits. This resulted in the video single-handedly getting Shane, his mom, and 6 other people fired. Kinda effed how he influenced these grannies with a stable job to get raunchy with him for like 15 views. Man just freaking tanked their retirement plan. And on August 29th, 2009, Shane officially shared this information in a video titled YouTube Got Me Fired. Now, Wayback Machine couldn't load this video, but for some reason it was able to play the audio.
So they came into my work today at Shmenny Schmrank, fired me. Then, after they gave me that little heavy dose of fun, they went to my mom's work, because she works at Shmenny Schmrank too, and they fired her. Then they went to my brother's work, because for some reason he works at Shmenny Schmrank too, and they fired him. Then they're gonna fire everybody that was involved in the video.
And it's basically him getting mad and saying he wants to go to the Jenny Craig building and light it on fire. But that there's no way he's gonna do that. And his epiphany to not light the Jenny Craig building on fire came to him while he was at a graveyard and he saw little kids crying at the grave of their dead mom and an old man crying for his wife. I'm not kidding.
You know, I thought I could get really mad and drive over to Shmenny Schmrank and light that shit on fire and